don't shy away from talking with the people that you're creating this product for. Like that's I would say a basic principle of business, and it extends to digital products as well, is that, don't lose touch with your customer. Really get entrenched in their world, get clear on what their needs are, what their struggles are, what solutions they're looking for, what their preferences are, what their values are. Get clear on all of those things, and that data essentially will help inform your product development and how you're designing this digital product.
Hey everyone, welcome to Your First Digital Product, a show that helps maxed out service providers create their first digital product so they can gain an additional income stream, grow their impact without increasing one-on-one work, and experience more time freedom. On the show, I talk to business owners who have launched digital products and dig deep into how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. I'm your host, Renee Morozowicz. Let's go. Hey everybody, today I'm here with Yasmine, and she is an award-winning entrepreneur and intellectual property attorney based in Dallas, Texas. She's the founder of coachesandcompany.com, where she's revolutionizing legal protection for entrepreneurs by offering plug-and-play legal solutions and lawyer-created business contracts without the hefty law firm fees. Hey, Yasmine, how are you?
Hey, Renee. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Yay, I'm so excited you're here today. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes, I'd love to share. Thank you. I am, as you mentioned, an intellectual property attorney. So I come from the traditional legal world. And a few years ago, I launched my own law firm. It was actually close to 10 years ago, but I guess that was a few years ago with the bigger picture. I launched my law firm working with entrepreneurs and small business owners, people who were selling their own services, selling their own products. And then a couple years ago, I really narrowed my focus to digital services and digital products. People who were selling services online, if you were marketing, selling, and delivering a service online or a digital product online, I was supporting those kinds of clients in my law firm. And after some time, found that there was a need for another solution, that not everybody in the first 2 years of their business was in the position to invest in hiring a law firm or paying for legal services, because of course that's a business expense, right? And it can be quite expensive for the newer entrepreneur. So it became clear that, there was a need for another solution. And so long story short, I founded my current company, which is called Coaches and Company, and we provide access to lawyer created and approved downloadable contract templates that are designed for selling services and digital products online. We were founded in 2020. It was actually July 2020 when we launched. We were working on development when the pandemic hit. And so that was an interesting turn of events, but, we persevered and continued and launched in July. And it's been a fun ride ever since. I mean, I've met so many incredible people in this work. I've seen people build incredible businesses that make a difference in the lives of their clients and in their own lives from a financial standpoint. And so it's just been a very cool thing to be working on, at this point in my career. And I've just been really, really enjoying it. So thank you for having me on to chat
I'm
digital
excited.
products.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
excited about
talking
this.
digital products.
I wish I would have known you. Well, at the time I needed contracts. It was 2017. And I paid a ton of money, for contracts that I really didn't use because I didn't understand them. And so I felt like
Yep.
every time I had a question or every time my potential client had a question, I had to then go back to the attorney to say
Yeah.
okay, they want this or they don't like that. Eventually I just got rid of
Yes.
it. And I did replace it with something else, but it's so important to have something. You have to have something. Don't do stuff without contract.
Yes.
So I just want to ask before we start. So it's Coaches and Company. Is it just for coaches, or what does the name Coaches and Company kind of represent, I guess?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. And I love what you said about having a contract regardless. Like you knew I needed a contract, you just weren't sure how to navigate. Should I go to a lawyer and have these custom contracts created? Should I use a free template I found on the internet or in a Facebook group or in a program I took? And so our approach is to, create something that is the best of both worlds, where they're informed contract templates that are designed for this specific nature of selling a service, selling a program, selling a digital product. but not the legalese that is
Hmm.
confusing. You can't edit it or navigate it yourself. And if you couldn't read and understand it or, make modifications, your client was probably thinking, what is it? Like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
scroll to the bottom and hope for the best, or
Hmm.
I'm going to not want to sign this contract because
Hmm.
I don't know what in the world I'm even signing. So
Right.
it just was not a great option. And the reality of the matter was a lot of attorneys also aren't familiar with the nature of selling services online
Hmm.
and selling digital products online. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. And it, reinforces for me too, is that this is a great solution because I've seen it play out in the
Hmm.
businesses and lives of our customers and members of our community. And also because I was the attorney that was working with clients, and a lot of contracts came across my desk that were created by other lawyers that I'm like, this is not
Hmm.
the right fit for this type of business arrangement
Right.
or transaction. So thank you for that. To answer
Yeah.
your question though, where did the name come from? So Coaches and Company, when we were founded and when I began to develop the concept of this digital e-commerce store that sold downloadable contracts that you could just click, in a few clicks, download the contracts, fully customizable. It comes with a user guide. It tells you what all the sections mean and how to customize them and, things that you need to be aware of if you are signing clients or are, doing business online. Um, the common thread that I saw and an industry that I saw emerging was that there were people selling corporate consulting or individual consulting services and personal coaching services. And the title of coach or consultant was a title that could be adopted by really any professional
Hmm.
that has a skill set that they're wanting to leverage and sell in the form of a paid offer. And so corporate consulting, personal coaching, um, we see courses that has emerged and continue to grow over the last few years. Absolutely. But Coaches and Company, that was our most popular product. And that was
Nice.
the most common title that we found across the board with entrepreneurs who were selling these corporate consulting and personal coaching services that were
Hmm.
one-to-one. Some also have, it's not uncommon for a professional consultant or coach to have an agency or some sort of done for you type of model. Alongside the other offers. And then, of course, there's the digital product model as well.
Hmm.
So we find that it's a suite of offers that many people can offer to their audience or, decide to offer to their audience. But Coaches and Company, it just had a ring to it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just was curious if it was just for
Yeah.
coaches. So I kind of just wanted
Yeah.
to plant that seed in the audience's mind so they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not a coach. It doesn't apply. But it does apply.
Yeah.
I love what you said about the service providers offering additional services. That's kind of the point of this podcast is, yes, you offer one-on-one services, but hey, what if you added a digital product or two to the mix? And how would that
Hmm.
affect your business? Would it bring in more leads?
Yes.
Would it give you some more free time, to be able to pursue something outside of work or, anything like that. So that's I love that
Yes.
business model and that's my like, yay, that's what I preach here on the show. So
I'm here to champion that too.
nice.
Let me make it clear. I'm here to champion that too. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that there's so much power in a one-to-one offer, absolutely.
Mhm.
And if we're being honest, I think working one-on-one with your ideal client or the person that you're creating solutions for, it's unmatched. It's the best form of market research to be able to see
Mhm.
that up close and to really get into whether you offer something related to business and marketing or operations and administration or health and wellness or relationships and mindset. I mean, whatever it is that you operate within, like working one on one with that person that you create solutions for, it's unmatched. However, as you mentioned, it requires time. And
Mhm.
so I like, my ideal situation is a healthy mix of, I have revenue from digital products. Maybe you have some sort of, membership
Mhm.
community. That is also an option that you can add into the mix. And then working with a select number of one-to-one clients to where your entire revenue model is not based on one-to-one clients,
Mhm.
because that can be a hustle too if every month you're having to find new clients to work with. Um, I feel like it's more well-rounded and just a healthier model overall to have a good combination of those sources.
Yeah, exactly. And if in any given month, you may think like, oh, this is a perfectly fine arrangement. I'm working one-on-one, I'm
Mm,
working 40 hours a week or whatever it is, and that may work out fine. But then next month,
yeah.
you may find that for whatever reason, you don't or can't or don't want to or can't offer that same sort of thing. And then what happens? Your
Yep.
income decreases because you're not doing that one-on-one engagement. So I do like,
Yes.
having some other, I don't know, eggs, baskets, I'm not sure,
Yeah,
whatever the analogy is.
yeah.
Anyway, okay. So do you want to tell us about your first product, what it was, the audience, the problem it solved, really just kind of dive in wherever and share whatever you
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so our products today are legal contract templates. As I mentioned, they're downloadable contract templates that are designed for service providers, people that sell a service online. These might be, as I mentioned, consultants, coaches, agency owners, freelancers. They provide some sort of service, or you sell a digital product like a course, a downloadable, an ebook, a template, etc. Um, I created a similar version to Coaches and Company that was for e-commerce brands prior to this. And that was my first commercialized digital product where I
Mhm.
created a standalone brand and sold it for these contracts because I had worked with a lot of e-commerce clients in my law firm at that time. And it was just my first go at it. So
Mhm.
I did that, but I wasn't very excited about it. And there are a number, I won't get into all of the details of that right now, but I wasn't very excited about it. And I did not see the demand that I was hoping for.
Mhm.
And so I pivoted and ultimately landed in services, which I had worked with a number of people in that. I think it was essentially me flipping a coin at the time, and it was the other side of the coin that I
Mhm.
should have got that, ideally I would have flipped to, but we gave e-commerce a go. Before we started recording, I shared with you my like unofficial first digital
Yeah,
product
I love these
that
stories.
I thought of. Yes. That I thought of when I was thinking about, your question in preparation for our talk today. And I remembered that actually when I was in college, I was approached by a company. I don't remember what their name was. Maybe it was like Note Hall, I wanna say,
Okay.
but maybe something else. But they essentially offered me access to a marketplace to sell my class notes and study guides. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember listing my notes and listing my study guides and making
Mhm.
some money, and they would send me like what was it? Like a debit card with the cash on the
What?
card.
I love
It's
that.
great.
That's awesome.
I mean, as a college student, like they sent me, $150 on a gift card. I'm like, heck
Mhm.
yeah.
For things
That's
you're already
amazing.
doing, you already had the notes,
Exactly.
right? Like, yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
It was so good. It was
Mhm.
so good. So, yeah, so it was technically my first digital
I like
product.
it.
But, yes, I sold my first digital product in 2018.
Okay, cool. And so
Mhm.
e-commerce, like physical products,
Mhm.
that sort
Yes,
of thing.
e-commerce
Okay.
physical products.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. How
Exactly.
long did it
Yeah.
take you to kind of figure out that that wasn't the right path for you and then to
Yeah.
pivot? Well, I guess 2018 to 2020, you said.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was 2018, when I sold my first digital product, and then 2019, I began like I hadn't formed the official brand of
Okay.
Coaches and Company, but I was selling the digital products that were for services. So I began to, I mean, when I went back to when it became clear to me that like, okay, I'm not really excited about this. Like, I don't feel like
Mhm.
I don't want to explore this topic further. It just didn't intrigue as far as e-commerce, physical product e-commerce goes as it
Right.
relates to the digital products that I wanted to sell.
Mhm.
And so I just went back to the drawing board in terms of like, okay, let me look at my clients and what kind of problems am I helping them solve? And what I was excited about was working with those who were selling services,
Mhm.
partly because I was a part of that industry as well. I mean, I was selling services too, right? I was selling legal services. And a lot of my clients were selling services as well. Not legal services necessarily, but they were selling, services related to business and marketing, services related to operations and technology and systems, services related to health and wellness, working with clients one on one, and selling digital products. And so I began to support them in, protecting those assets, intellectual property behind their digital products, protecting themselves from liability when they were working with clients one on one. And so that was just another, one of the things that I remember noticing at the time was that I would meet with a lot of service providers and they would say, Yasmine, I want to protect my business legally, but like
Mhm.
I cannot invest at this point in time, but I'm going to come back. And many of
Right.
them would come back later after they had, the capital to invest in their legal
Mhm.
foundation. But that in between time, like you still need protection in that time.
Right.
And, a big part of our mission is to make this more accessible, make these
Mhm.
resources more accessible. So, of course, it's at a fraction of the cost of what it costs to work with an attorney. But then there's also an added benefit of, it's not the confusing legalese that your
Mhm.
traditional lawyer is going to include in a business agreement or in a services agreement. And you're able to navigate it and make changes as needed from client to client because sometimes the package varies from client to client.
Mhm.
And you don't want to have to pay a lawyer every time you work with a
Yes.
new client. Like
Right.
that's just not reasonable in my opinion. So I
Mhm.
used to be of the opinion years ago when I was an attorney, big surprise, or I am still an attorney, but when I was
Mhm.
exclusively selling legal services and only working with clients in that way, I used to think that was the best practice was hire a lawyer to create the contract for you. And that's the best practice. But after seeing what many lawyers produce in terms of a services agreement for those to be used in the digital space in selling services and digital products online, it requires very specialized knowledge and experience to create a contract that translates well
Mhm.
to the services industry. So that's what we've tried to do. And I think we've done it successfully at Coaches and Company is create contracts that people are happy to use. They're proud to send them to their clients. They are confident tailoring them
Mhm.
to the specific client and the services to be included and modifying the policies. We include a lot of policies in our contract that a lot of people, when they see them, they're like, oh my God, I never would have thought of this. Like,
Yeah.
rescheduling policies around
Mhm.
calls or, how to communicate a refund policy accurately. So, yeah, this is a step and maybe it's clear in the way, I'm talking about it. Like, this is what excited me at the time. I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
feel like there's
Yeah.
so much opportunity. Yeah. And people are really doing incredible things in this space. And what also really interested me was that women were really thriving in this industry because, historically, business was not as accessible as it is today in the digital age and in this digital landscape in a number of ways that I would love to
Right.
talk about if you're interested. But
Right.
yeah, it's been really cool.
Yeah. Let me ask a question first, really quick about you mentioned, maybe it's not a question. You mentioned that some people can't afford maybe, a full on, one-to-one legal
Hmm.
engagement, but then maybe later they come to you. And I love this model because I think that,
Yeah.
some people in the freelance space, in the consulting space, dismiss this like lower paying client. And I don't always agree. People will say, like, oh, if they can't
Right.
afford it, they're a bad client because they have too many questions and whatever. But I don't necessarily agree with that because I
Yeah.
think that people are early on in their business. They still need something. So having, a product to offer the people who are DIYing it just for now, but keeping that
Hmm.
relationship with them so that later on, they already have you top of mind. And if they need
Hmm.
something, they can still work with you one on one. So you have both.
Yeah.
You have a product that can lead into a service later. So yeah, I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love that. And I love a tiered approach with
Hmm.
offers. I think that there's certainly balance in that. That's not to say that in every instance and in every business, there must be something for every budget.
Hmm.
But your market better than, probably anybody. And so it pays off to take a step back and look at, okay, I love offering this service at like a $5,000 price point or a $10,000 price point or a $20,000 price point or whatever that offer looks like.
Hmm.
And you know what? There's a possibility depending on the budget. It can
Hmm.
range from a $500 offer to a $50,000 offer and beyond, right? So,
Right.
it's important for you to get clear on, okay, what is my sweet spot? What is my offer that I have capacity to deliver on and the ability to deliver on? And what is the milestone prior to that that can support my ideal client that maybe they're not my ideal client today, but maybe in
Hmm.
12 months or 24 months, they might be my ideal client at that point. So what solution and support can I offer them between now and then that brings them into my world, allows them to
Hmm.
benefit from that, and then, hopefully become a client of yours if they are still a great fit when the time
Yeah.
comes.
And they've gotten to know you and like you and trust you
Exactly.
outside
Yep.
of the time that you have spent, with them. Like you haven't
Yep.
spent any one-on-one time with them, but they have consumed your product. They've maybe watched your videos. They're on your email list. You're nurturing them
Mhm.
without
Yep.
having to be present with them. And they come to you and, they already know you and they like you and they trust you. So they're ready
Yep.
to work with you. So yeah, I think that can be
Yes.
really valuable if you're open to it, if people agree with that sort of business model and want to implement it in their business. So
Totally.
do you want to go back then to what you were talking about just
Oh,
prior?
yeah. So we were talking about women and
Mhm,
how that was very exciting for me at the time, was to realize, okay, so more women are entering the world of business and entrepreneurship, creating their own ability to generate income, which I think is so powerful. Of
mhm,
course, it goes without saying, but when it comes to women, so whenever I was a new attorney, I remember I would get calls from women from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, I mean, there was no one type of woman that was calling me, but they were women that were in situations, in marriages and in family situations that they couldn't leave because they didn't have a financial support for themselves,
mhm.
which I wish for nobody, man or woman. Like that's horrible. I don't
Right.
know that there is a worse situation to be in personally. And so, yeah, that really solidified for me the importance of having your own ability to generate income, whether that's skills that you can contribute to a larger company and take a job
Mhm.
within an organization and be able to, have stability in your financial situation that way, or, right? Because both are options. Even if you go with one, have your own independent source of income and
Right.
revenue tied to a company that you created based on skills that you have.
Mhm.
So, I guess the common thread is certainly having a skill set that you can leverage that has value, that you can provide value to a client or to another individual or organization through that skill set. But yeah, I, love that digital opened up a whole world of business for people who maybe couldn't leave their house because they had to care for family members or for
Mhm.
children. Maybe they, are have some sort of physical impairment or other disability that prevents them from, going out in the world. And, before digital, you had to run TV ads or put it in print or network in person, so those are all
Yeah.
options. But if you
It
were
was
not able
way
to leave
less
your home.
accessible. Like, yes, not as many you
Yes.
did hear of people doing it, but not nearly as many people,
Yes.
I think, were able to do it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just changed the game,
Mhm.
and it's a different world that we're living in. You're able to get in front of your customers in a much easier way.
Mhm.
You're able to network with other professionals in a much easier way. And yeah, I think it's a very exciting time to be in this industry.
I do too. I'm gonna play this snippet from this for my son because he's, a sophomore right now in high school, and am encouraging him to find
Yeah.
a marketable skill. Like, you need to
Yes.
find something that you can do that is outside of
Mhm.
working at Wendy's. Not that there's anything wrong with working at
Yes.
Wendy's, but you are
Yeah.
relying on someone else's timetable, someone
Mhm.
else's schedule, and
Yep.
any number of other factors that you can't control. So, yes, what can you learn to do that you can provide value to someone else? And, obviously, I love the digital space because, there's no time restrictions or limitations. It's very flexible. And, I think that there's a lot of value to offer a lot of people out there.
Yes.
So, when you were creating your products, let's maybe just focus on the products that you have now. How were you coming up with the contracts maybe that you needed to create? Were people asking like, "Hey, I need a contract for this or that?"
Mhm.
Or, did you have revisions that you went through? Maybe people saying like, "Oh, this doesn't include that. I thought it would, or I wish it did."
Mhm.
How are you? I guess maybe kind of how are they coming to be, and how are they evolving over time? I suppose is one question I have.
Yeah. That's such a great question. So as you say that, I'm thinking it would not have happened had I not been working so closely
Mm,
one-on-one with clients over the years.
mhm,
So I had been working with clients for a number of years at that point and, worked with hundreds of clients at that point and got clear on, what their needs were in terms of this end solution. Here in this instance, it was, I need a contract that I can rely on and easily customize to send to clients because that's what I'm going to be doing. And so clients were coming to me in my law firm, were asking for this. We were doing them on a one-on-one basis. And then, part of that process and working together, there were revisions involved and different modifications to the different policies, the structure of the contract, the language used in the contract. And so there was a lot of evolution of the product. It wasn't the digital product, but it was in the early stage,
Right.
of what ended up being something that was marketed and sold as a digital product. So yeah, it was working with the clients, and getting clear on what their needs are, what their wants are, what issues they had with existing solutions that were on the market. So yeah, working with the clients.
Yeah, I think that's good because I think that we can maybe think that we know, like we're like, okay, I know exactly what this client needs or what this customer needs, and then you kind of give that to them, but that's not really exactly what they need. So getting that feedback, I think, is important to kind of crafting a final version. Not that I think that any digital product is really ever final, but creating maybe version 1, and then maybe version 2, some tweaks over time or new information. Like, for example, I do have a contract with someone, and it's a subscription. So the contract was X, and I pay a small fee every year to have access to the latest contract. But, the newest revisions just included stuff about AI. So, there's always things coming up, I think. And so do you provide that? Like, how does it work if someone buys your contract? Do they get updates? Do they have to buy them later? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, our contracts, once you download them, you will receive access to any updated version that we
Cool.
release for that same product. Yeah, so
Nice.
we have included provisions around AI in, especially as it relates to content creation, contracts that are related to content creation, digital product development, marketing, collateral and resources, design. I mean, all of these have AI implications and the use of artificial intelligence to actually develop the body of work, which there are IP implications there, ownership implications. And so but to answer your question, I mean, that's a whole other topic of conversation as far as AI goes. But yeah, to answer your question, if once you purchase, essentially with our digital products, you purchase a license to the product, you get access to, and this is the case with every digital product. When you purchase a digital product, the seller of that product is giving you a license, and the license terms are included in the terms and conditions that are, a part of your purchase that apply to your purchase. And so within our company, when you purchase a license, you have a lifetime license to that product and any future versions of it. I think that's a fair model too, the one that you've described, for the user to pay for upgrades. I don't think that that's unfair by any means. It's just, a matter of preference and how you decide you want to set up the offer for your customers. But yeah, at this time, we provide, it's essentially a lifetime license that when you purchase it, you'll have access to it for the lifetime of the product.
A lifetime of the product,
and any updates. Yes, exactly.
That's my question.
Not my lifetime. Yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's a
And
great
not
question
their
too.
lifetime. Yes, yes.
Yeah. It's a great question too. And it's a topic that comes up pretty often. I would say, like, what is lifetime access? Because you see it in marketing material a lot, is get lifetime access to this product, or you get lifetime access to this course or this program. So what exactly does that mean? I mean, it means what the contract says it means. So you certainly want to read what the terms and conditions state about your access and how long you have access and updates, etc. But generally speaking, lifetime access means the lifetime of the product. For as long as this product exists and is being offered, once you complete that purchase, you'll have access to it as long as that product continues to exist.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to talk about some of the specific contracts that you have? Like, you have a ton of contracts. So typically on the show, we go through like each product, but most people don't have so many products. So what are your top 5 favorite products, or your top 5 best-selling products, or I guess maybe the top 5 products that people really should have, or the most people should have?
Yeah, I'd love to share what our top products are, and
Yeah.
also like what are the products that most businesses need, those that
Yes.
sell
Yeah.
services or digital products. So as far as what are the contracts that every service provider
Mhm.
needs, if you're selling a service or a digital product online, you certainly need to have a client contract if you're working with clients one-on-one. And that's typically where most people start, is
Mhm.
they're once they decide, okay, I want to work one-on-one with clients, I want to sell a service, whether it's consulting or coaching or a done for you service, they realize I need a written agreement with the person that I'm going to be selling this service to. So you want to have that contract in place. You want to make sure that it is strong, well-rounded, well-drafted, covers the policies that you need to cover, helps you anticipate future situations that might arise in that client relationship.
Mhm.
And that's really the key to a great contract, is including policies that you know are a when they happen, not an if they
Mhm.
happen. They might not happen in every client engagement, but you recognize sometimes clients need to cancel calls. Sometimes clients ask about pausing the contract. Sometimes clients are, wanting to meet in person for whatever reason. Sometimes they might want to cancel the contract altogether, or maybe they want to, you have an issue with rescheduling of the sessions or whatever that might look like when you're working one
Mhm.
on one with a client. So that is something you certainly want to make sure you've got in place, and that it's a good, reliable contract that is created with the nature of selling a service online. And then, of course, if you're selling a digital product, you'll want to have terms and conditions for that as well. Those are the terms that govern the purchase of that product, what that license looks like that you're giving to the person purchasing access to it, how long they have access, what exactly they get when they make this purchase. And you want to be really clear so that you don't have any issues of, you know, the refund requests because they weren't clear on what they were purchasing and they thought it was something else. And then also to protect your intellectual property, because your digital product is probably mostly comprised of your IP.
Mhm.
And it's your job as the owner of your IP to have measures in place to protect it. And the best way to do that, and the most preventative way to do that, is by having solid terms and conditions that address how they can use your digital product. Are they able to use it themselves, for personal use? Can they take it and white label it and commercialize it within
Mhm.
their own business and sell it as their own digital product, which there's no right or wrong answer here. It just depends on what it is that you desire as the owner of the digital product, and what is the purpose that you're creating it for your clients and your customers to use. Maybe you are creating it as a resource that they can sell in their own business, or they can use in their own business, or share with their clients. Or maybe you're creating it for them to just use it personally themselves as a one-time use, and everything in between. And so all that matters is that you put that in writing. So those are the first two that most people start with. I would say they're arguably the most important, but of
Mhm.
course, there are other components to your legal foundation. To quickly summarize, on your website, if you're collecting any personal data
Mhm.
like email addresses or payment information, of course, you want to make sure you have a privacy policy that states how you're handling that information. Are you selling it? Who are you sending it to? And even if you're just processing payment, that's your website is sending
Mhm.
data to another website to process that payment. So you've got to be clear. The law requires that terms and conditions on your website as well can help protect your intellectual property and anything that appears on your website. And then if you're working with any other service providers, a contractor or an employee, having an agreement in place that states what the terms of your relationship look like, who is responsible for what, who is being compensated what, who owns the intellectual property that's being created in the contract if you guys are creating IP together. And so, yeah, these are measures that you can take. If you're new to my world, this is the first time you're hearing me say this, but if you've been around for a while, then you've heard me say it a million times, is that it's all about being
Mhm.
proactive. It's all about being preventative. You don't want to wait to be reactive. You want to be proactive. That requires some investment of time and money up front, but it's very little compared to what an
Yes.
investment looks like if you're doing damage control or cleaning up a legal mess, or, worse.
Yes.
So, highly encourage business owners and entrepreneurs to legally protect themselves, be proactive when it comes to having solid contracts in place with your clients and across the board in your business. And, you can expect to benefit from action like that in your
And
business as an
and
entrepreneur.
peace of mind too, just knowing that you have things set up,
Yep.
in place. It's like insurance, right? Like life
Yes.
insurance and,
Yes.
a will and, policies for, power of attorney and things like that. Like
Yep.
just in case. Like, we don't ever think or hope or expect anything bad to happen, but just in case it
Yes.
does, here we have something in place. So I think that's really
Exactly.
important too. Totally agree.
Yes, absolutely. You wanna have it and not need it rather
Yes,
than need it and not have
exactly.
it.
Yeah. I just,
Because if you find yourself needing it and you don't have it, you're like, "Why did I
yes,
do this to
yes.
myself?"
Yeah. I just bought long term disability, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And just for it, just for, a certain number of years, like
Mhm,
before I'm ready to stop
mhm,
working, like in case something happens. And
mhm.
it's just for future you. If future you gets into some
Yes,
sort of trouble, you have something. Same with
yes,
a contract, all these policies. So,
absolutely.
yep.
I love also, Renee, that you said, the peace of mind.
Hmm.
It's peace of mind and the confidence
Hmm.
that it gives you to show up in your business. Like I said, to proudly send a contract to a prospective
Right.
client, one that you can stand
Hmm.
by and that you're proud to stand by, and also that you can explain to
Yes.
them if they ask you, like, what does this mean in the contract? If you don't know what the contract says or means or how to explain it, one, how are you going to share that with the client? And two, how are you going to apply it if you need to enforce the
Yeah,
contract?
exactly.
So,
Hmm.
it certainly has a positive effect on, that peace of mind that, I'm secure in my business. I know that I did right by my business and I've
Hmm.
got a foundation in place to protect it and to protect me. And then also, I can confidently show up as a professional because I
Hmm.
have a professional agreement that I can present.
Yeah, and I don't think it would cover every single thing that ever might happen, but, it's like, good
Of
faith, right?
course.
You're trying to
Yeah.
cover most things that one can reasonably expect
Mhm.
that might occur, and I think you see this in business over time. At the beginning, things look a certain way, and then something
Mhm.
happens, right? And you're like, "Oh, well, I need to put that in my contract." So I think coming to a place like this where there's already a contract in place, you mentioned like having things that people might not think of. That's so valuable. Like,
Mhm.
we're relying on this
Mhm.
experience that you have working with clients. Like, oh, I didn't even realize I needed something for if people reschedule calls. Like, I think it can be so helpful for people, especially people who are just getting started or, in the early stages of their
Yeah.
business. So yeah. Yay. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You are not alone in that experience at all.
And it's not fun to be on that side of it, like, "Oh, I have no recourse because I didn't specify something ahead of time. So I
Yes.
will next time,
Yes.
but, this time kind of out of luck."
Yes.
Like, ugh,
That's
that's
a common, I mean, and that's, I think it's a part of the entrepreneurial experience when you're selling services is with every client, you learn new
Mhm.
lessons. You learn more about what your preferences are. You learn more about what the client's preferences are generally, and you're able to incorporate that into future proposals
Right.
and contracts and policies. And so it's just a part of the
Mhm.
evolution.
Exactly.
It's to be
Yes,
embraced.
yes, yeah, I was thinking that too, yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask about support. So, some people creating digital products and having digital products might run into the experience where people have questions. So, if somebody buys a template
Mhm.
from you and they have questions, is that covered? Are questions covered maybe for a certain amount of time? What if they have questions later? So, do you have anything, kind of, or maybe people don't have questions because maybe you answer them all
Yeah.
in the product. So, what kind of experience
Yeah.
do you have with supporting those products that are out there?
Yes, great question. And I love that you mentioned maybe we don't have questions. We receive very few
Excellent.
questions
Nice.
actually, and I believe it is because we include all of the answers
Nice.
that they could possibly, answers to the questions they could possibly
Mhm.
ask in the user guide that comes with our
Nice.
contracts. And so we get very few questions, but when we do receive questions, we are not a law firm, so
Mhm.
we don't provide legal services or legal consultation or legal advice. And we make that clear, to
Mhm.
people that are purchasing the contracts and then in any email communication too. But we do receive, of course, customer service
Mhm.
questions. Sometimes it's about like the technical aspect of
Yes.
downloading the digital
Mhm.
product. Sometimes it's about, the meaning of a clause
Mhm.
in one of our contracts. And so we're happy to provide an explanation of what this clause means. And yeah, that's pretty much the extent of our customer service. We receive a lot of questions because we do offer a number of contracts.
Mhm.
And if you look at our shop at coachesandcompany.com, you'll see that we have, um, you know, I want to say I should probably know how many exactly, but if I were to guess, I would say like about
Okay.
20 single contracts that you could purchase. And then we have a couple of
Mhm.
bundles that we bundled a couple of products that we know, people need
Mhm.
typically at the same time. But you could purchase all of our contracts, one by one, a la carte. We have our one-to-one client coaching contract, our agency and marketing services contract. We have our copywriting services for those that sell single
Mhm.
service podcast production, group program. If you're running a group coaching program or an educational program of some sort, if you have a live event or a retreat that you host in person, we have a contract terms and conditions for that. You host workshops. If you sell a digital product or a course, of course, we have terms and conditions for that. Your website, your team, so contractor, employee, if you're hiring an associate coach, all of these different relationships that you might have with a customer or with a team member, we have contracts for those. And so a lot of our inquiries and from customers are from prospective customers who are asking us, like, can you help me figure out which
Mhm.
contract
Okay.
template is right for this type of service that I
Mhm.
offer? And so depending on like the nature of the service that they offer, we'll provide them with recommendations, whether it's one or a couple that could fit. But every service looks different, every
Mhm.
business looks different. And so it's interesting to see the different ways people are leveraging their skills and selling a service. But the bottom line is when you're selling a service online, when you're marketing, you're selling it, you're delivering it online, there are certain clauses you want to
Mhm.
make sure you have in place and policies you're communicating and boundaries you establish in order to protect yourself and your business and to promote a successful relationship with the client
Right.
because both people want to leave the relationship and end the contract in a positive
Mhm.
way, achieving what it is that they sought to achieve throughout that relationship. And so you've got a great opportunity as the business owner to set the stage for that
Yes. Mhm.
and to help navigate,
Mhm.
to help the client and you navigate the relationship confidently
Mhm.
because it's all already been laid out.
Right. Yeah, I love that set the stage. Yeah, I think that and setting those expectations, I think, is so important with people. The
Mhm.
reason I asked about the support was I wonder if some people are thinking, like, if I have a digital product, will I have to, how much support will I have to have? Like, will I have to support it all the time for people who can't figure out
Mhm.
how to download it or, and I've experienced this
Mhm.
myself, people like, I can't access it. And like,
Yeah.
you're kind of troubleshooting, some things like
Mhm.
that. So, it's good to hear that it's not overwhelming. And probably for the
Yeah.
pre-sale, I actually did see, maybe I interviewed someone recently and she had a number of
Mhm.
products also. And there
Mhm.
was a way, I can't remember what that way was, but there was a not sure what you
Mhm.
need, like go here. So that
Yes,
is,
that's a great
yeah.
approach too.
So I think that like, that this show is targeted for people to launch their first product, but it also is good to kind of have in mind that like, if you do go down this path, and a lot of people who have products continue to have products, there are very few people I've interviewed on the show who have created a product and then just don't have any products anymore. It's kind of one of those things that like
Mhm.
once you have one, you're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Good to know that when you have many, what you can expect in terms of support, how to help people navigate which products they need. So those are just kind of
Mhm.
maybe like level two, sort of like advanced topics for it, the
Yeah.
the digital product space. Do you want to give us some advice for people who have not created anything? Like
Mhm.
2 to 3 things that maybe you recommend for people to do or not do. Um, anything really.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, in the note of what we chatted about, and yes, even despite the technical difficulties, I've enjoyed our chat today. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
I would say definitely, like, don't shy away from talking with the people that you're creating this product for. Like, that's I would say, a basic principle of business, and it extends to digital products as well, is that, don't lose touch
Mhm.
with your customer. Really get entrenched in their world, get clear on what their needs are, what their struggles are, what solutions they're looking for, what their preferences are, what their values are. Get clear on all of those things, and that data essentially will help inform your product development and how you're designing this digital product because no two digital products are the same and there's no cookie cutter situation. You don't have to do, there really are very few things that you have to do when
Mhm.
creating a digital product. You get to choose a lot of the time. And so you get to design it and you want to make sure if you want it to be a successful digital product, I guess depending on what your definition of success is, but if you want your digital product to really benefit the person you're creating it for and you want to be able to sell
Mhm.
a lot of this digital product, which I imagine you do if you're listening to
Yeah.
this, make sure that you're talking to your customer and continuing to learn about them and keep them within your line of sight as far as why am I actually creating this digital product? If it doesn't benefit them and they don't absolutely love it, it's not going to be great
Right.
for you. You're not going to be, you know, excited about continuing to innovate for that audience and innovate as it relates to that product, or create, you know, a suite of products that really support your customer in a well-rounded way. So continue talking to your customer and learn more about them, and continue to innovate and evolve as it relates to your digital product and its place in the market and its relation to your customer.
Yeah, I love those. I love those. And all of those are kind of saying like, this is not just passive. Like there is work to be done, but
Yeah,
I think it is important
it's
and valuable.
different.
Yeah, different. Yeah, definitely different than a service. But I think it can really, I think you can also help more people, you know, than you can one-to-one. Like you just don't, you kind of run out of time
Mhm.
after a while, right? So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So where can people find you online? You mentioned your website, if you want to mention it again, where you are on social media or anything like that.
Yes, thank you. So you can find us online at www.coachesandcompany.com. We're also on Instagram at Coaches and Company. I've been hanging out on
Yes.
Threads. That's been fun.
Yes.
Yeah, you
I
like
like
Threads?
Threads.
Me too.
I do. I
I
do.
do too. I liked Twitter before, but like
The
Twitter, I
same.
don't know. The crowd was just not,
Yeah.
it's not great over
hmm
there. And so, and I'd felt like that for a couple of years now. And so and I also like got burnt out of Instagram for various
hmm
reasons, because after years of using Instagram for business, you know, you certainly like there's some fatigue
hmm
associated with it, I believe. And so Threads has been a nice change of
hmm
pace. I've met some really cool people, had some great conversations, heard some interesting
Yeah.
opinions. So
Yeah.
it's been fun to be on
hmm
Threads. So yeah, I'm on there, and then I'm on LinkedIn too.
Nice.
So if you're on LinkedIn, you can find me on there, Yasmine Salem Hamdan. So yeah, I look forward to connecting with everyone who's listening to this podcast. Please feel free to reach out. Would love to hear from you. And thank you again,
Yeah.
Renee, for having me
Thank you.
on.
I think everybody will find this super valuable. Hey, thanks for listening. I'd love to continue the conversation in your inbox. Email subscribe to hey@yfdp.show or sign up in the show notes to get bi-monthly emails about how you can create, launch, and market your first digital product. Can't wait to see you there.